Hello, dear friends. We were told that no one would come to save us, but that was a lie to keep us in despair. Opinion piece, golden pot, source of wealth, waves of abundance, distribution mechanism, social and spiritual goals, at the end of the rainbow, visible indicators on the world stage, prosperous Earth and advanced technology. Let's start. A pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is a metaphor for a wonderful treasure that one desires to attain, representing a high abundance, both material and spiritual, that awaits at the end of a transformative process or path of light. The reward for weathering the storm and reaching a shift in consciousness is not limited to money. It is fulfillment and the realization of purpose. More than a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is the title of a detailed investigation by Steve Biko into the origin of wealth to finance global abundance. He explains that the funding for GISARA's economic program and the global financial reset comes from gold brought from cosmic civilizations, illicit fortunes from the old financial system, and recovered hidden treasures which would be managed by human intermediaries guided by spiritual entities to create a new world economy of abundance and justice. Biko explains that the necessary resources are already gathered and ready, with several waves of abundance programmed to raise the standard of living for the world's population. The central proposition is that money will not only compensate for the poverty and abuses of the old system, but will also finance spiritual, technological, and social projects specific to the new world. He claims that the wealth comes from multiple sources: shipments of gold brought in spaceships, ancient reserves hidden in places like the Philippines, assets linked to Chinese elders, a large quantity of gold and cash seized from the global financial elite and transferred from the Vatican to Fort Knox. He also mentions the recovery of secret funds stored in underground bases and the existence of historical prosperity packages destined to be released. Biko claims that the majority of the extraterrestrial gold transfer has been completed, implying that financial preparations have been well underway for years. He insists there will be several successive phases of waves of abundance, and that the rollout will occur through a gradual process of wealth redistribution and the implementation of human and galactic projects. On the human plane, he mentions Chinese elders as custodians of vast assets, figures like Matthew Ward and Salusa as channeled sources, and intermediaries like Charlie Ward and Biko himself as philanthropic conduits through which the funds will flow. According to Biko, the administration of these resources will be overseen by the Company of Heaven to prevent a repeat of the corrupt patterns of the old financial order. These funds will be channeled through selected light missionaries, philanthropists, and organizations who will receive more support the more transparent and altruistic they are in their use of the money. The author describes various distribution channels, digital increases in bank accounts, physical cash transfers via courier companies, and the gradual release of prosperity packages and gold-backed assets. It is emphasized that transfer will follow strict protocols and control system to prevent diversion to secret accounts, criminal use, or selfish enrichment. On a social level, the stated purpose is to revitalize the global economy, lifting citizens above the current level of poverty and enabling a dignified, collaborative, and peaceful life for all. On the spiritual level, the rise in collective consciousness and the arrival of the new earth will eliminate crime and deceit, fostering an environment where honesty and service are the norm. The goal is to dismantle the old system of corruption, abuse of power, and economic inequality, using recovered illicit funds and the universal goal to revitalize society and ensure that everyone rises above the current level of poverty. It is claimed that consciousness will be so elevated in the new earth that crime will disappear, honesty will be the norm, and redistribution will allow for a dignified and cooperative life for all. Archangel Michael explains that the funds will be delivered through multiple channels: historical prosperity packages, Chinese assets, gold from beyond the planet, and wealth seized from the financial elite, arriving both through digital increases in bank accounts and physical delivery via courier companies. He emphasizes that there will be strict spiritual oversight and control systems to prevent the new resources from ending in corruption, Swiss accounts, or for selfish use. Light missionaries and philanthropists who manage the funds will receive additional support to lead the New Earth projects alongside galactic technologies. Turning point. According to Ismael Perez, humanity is at a historic turning point where timelines are splitting. He wants that the coalition of worlds has mobilized in Starfleet to observe and guard this culminating moment of collective evolution. Perez describes how Earth is reaching the crescendo of a millennia-long evolutionary cycle in which old systems collapse and the new possibilities of consciousness emerge. In his view, the multiple timelines that currently coexist, representing scenarios of conflict, stagnation, or ascension, will soon be reduced to three main ones. Each human being will align with one of them through their decisions, their frequency, and their level of consciousness, implying a bifurcation of realities, since not everyone will experience the same future. The coalition of worlds, composed of advanced civilizations, positions itself as an observer and guardian of this process, without intervening directly due to the principle of free will, but ready to accompany humanity's transition to a new era of unity and responsibility. Perez highlights themes such as collective awakening, individual transformation, the importance of unity, discernment, and courage in the face of profound changes. The greatest battlefield is not territorial, but rather the future that humanity chooses to create. White hats. Mr. Kitbull describes a covert global operation led by the White Hats, whose objective is to dismantle the cabal and the dark side through a silent coup and return sovereignty to the people, culminating in a great awakening with the public revelation of their crimes and hidden technologies. An international coalition called the White Hats, comprised of high-ranking officials, intelligence agents, and sovereignists from multiple countries, who are infiltrated at all levels of the cabal's infrastructure, has been executing a precision operation from within for decades, a silent coup to dismantle the 13 bloodlines and the cabal that controls central banks, the media, and secret societies. They are delaying the final phase until they neutralize an economic and nuclear dead man switch, in order to free the planet from debt bondage and prepare for a global revelation event supported by an emergency broadcast system that will announce the ultimate triumph of the light. He claimed that what is currently perceived as political theater in the mainstream media conceals a massive shadowy operation orchestrated by the White Hats against the global cabal. He presents this operation as a silent coup whose ultimate goal is to restore popular sovereignty, end debt slavery, and announce the triumph of enlightenment. According to Mr. Poole, the White Hats have managed to infiltrate central banks, media conglomerates, and secret societies, gathering evidence of crimes against humanity for decades. The collected evidence is stored on secure servers off-planet and within a quantum financial system. Arrests would not appear as such in the news, but rather disguised as retirements, resignations, or health issues, which would actually be the removal of the shadow government's middle management, while the top brass would be held in secure locations awaiting a global revelation. The text explains the slowness of the process as a precision surgical operation. He claims that the elite have installed a dead man's switch in the global economy and defense systems, so that too swift an action could trigger a global collapse, which is why the coalition is deactivating these mechanisms one by one. As external signs of this deactivation, Mr. Kitbull mentions abrupt shifts in geopolitical alliances, the collapse of the petrodollar, and the emergence of secret budgets. Funding for the cabal's private army is being cut off, and its escape routes, including its exit via jump gates, are being blocked. The culminating phase of the operation will depend on control of the planet-wide emergency broadcasting system. When the time comes, the coalition will seize all television and radio signals, the broadcast 10 days of truth, revealing the secret space program, medical beds, the true story of Earth, and the elite's crimes. This is not simply a political crisis, but the liberation of a planet. In his view, the guide is all written. The actors are in their places, and the final catching is about to rise, because the operation is practically complete. We were told that no one would come to save us, but that was a lie to keep us in despair. Mr. Kitbull maintains that the cavalry is already here, and that they have already taken the fort, that the war is over, and that all that's missing is the news, because the light has prevailed and liberation is a fait accompli, even though it hasn't been officially announced yet. Breaking news. Spain wins its second World Cup 16 years later. Spain won the 2016 World Cup against Argentina with a goal by Ferran Torres in extra time. Argentina erupted in jubilation after their victory against England in the World Cup. The champions basked in the adulation of more than 2 million people in Madrid. The European Union launches a plan to prevent blackouts with more energy storage. Andy Burnham takes over as Prime Minister after being appointed by the King. Trump imposes 50% tariffs on most imports from Canada. Elon Musk claims that in 10 or 20 years, WEC will be optional and money will cease to be important thanks to robotics. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.